Online. Hey everybody, and welcome to week 3 of Decoding Digital. We're live from the Symphony 3 office, and we're glitch-free this week, so it's good to be online. As you can see, Fergal has changed appearance slightly since last time we broadcast. Fergal's actually up at a conference in Sydney over this week, but we thought this would be a really good opportunity to get Sohal to sit down with us. Sohal Khatwani, thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm going to be joining in today in place of Fergal, so hopefully I can offer some good insights today, like he has over the last couple of weeks.
Great. Cheers, Sohal. So I know we've mentioned Sohal a fair few times before, and he is our elusive SEO expert, so we will get into that this afternoon. Before we get started, would like to remind everyone to keep your questions coming into Twitter using the hashtag DigitalBic, or on Facebook if you like that, and emailing us at decodingdigital@symphony3.com. We've got another laptop set up just here with all your questions coming in, so we will answer them live as we go, if you like. So just to get started, Sohal, for those of us who aren't aware, or who may know a little bit, not too much, do you want to give us a brief overview about what SEO is, why is it so important, and why do we keep throwing this phrase around constantly?
Yeah. SEO is basically, if you had to explain it in plain English, is the process of making changes to your website, small little changes, to make sure that your website gets ranked higher in search engines. So, for example, on Google, when someone types something that they're searching for, SEO helps to make sure that your website is there on top on the first page. It's important because most of your customers or prospects, where they would go first to find out more about your business is on a search engine like Google, and they probably either type your business name or your product or your services name and expect to find your website. So, and that's why it's important, and why I only talk about Google and not search engines. Search engines, there's Bing, there's Yahoo as well, but Google in the Australian market covers about 90 to 95% of people searching online. So it's better to focus on Google and optimize your website for that.
And one thing I will add before we go any further, I should have mentioned this before, but next week's session with Fergal and Sohal, we will be covering in a lot more detail SEO, online awareness and evaluation. So while we will be discussing it today and we do want to answer your questions, don't get too scared if you're not following 100%, because we will be going into more detail on this.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Ryan, and excuse me if I jump into some technical terms. Quite used to speaking.
We'll try to pull you up on that.
Quite speaking the SEO jargon, so I'll try and keep it as simple and as straightforward as possible. You know, tying it back to the customer journey and personas, and Ryan, you could pull me up if there's something that I say that's not understood by everyone.
We'll try and keep it in normal people language.
Yeah,
but I can be guilty of it myself as well. So one thing we do as well is we do track the performance of SEO, and I look at traffic coming into websites quite a lot in Google Analytics, which is something we'll discuss later as well. Yeah. And we're seeing that a huge amount of traffic come into every website, and almost always the majority is from what we call organic traffic, which is traffic that's coming from search engine searches. So it really is important to think about how we're going to get on top of those rankings and what we're ranking for.
Of course.
So one notion we discussed during the webinar this week was that of the customer personas, and some of you may have already gone and filled out your customer persona worksheet. If you haven't got around to doing that yet, it is available from probably the very page you're on right now on the Business Victoria website. So I would highly recommend you all download that and have a crack. But what we do know, Sohal, is that it's also quite important for SEO to understand your personas. One thing we map out on that sheet is your customer's needs, and right down the bottom, the last thing we ask you to fill out is the keywords that customer would use to search for.
Yeah.
So I know you had a really good example recently of a client that we did some SEO work for, who had 2 different customer segments, probably looking for the exact same product, but using very different keywords.
Yeah, no. So SEO, when it comes to personas is the starting point of any website or SEO. It's the same way. It's always very, very important to understand your personas. The reason for this is if you don't understand how your target market or your customer search you're more likely, making changes to your website that's not relevant to them. So the example we're talking about, we had a small business who was in the heating solutions, and they wanted to offer their hydronic heating solutions to business and corporates as well as homeowners, the local, your local families and so forth. So what they wanted to optimize for was two completely different terms. So the business and the bigger corporations would probably search for something like hydronics, which I didn't know what that was before.
Yeah, I'm guilty as well. I didn't know what
hydronic
was.
heating,
Yeah.
but generally their other users, the other target market that they're optimizing for, was searching for words like cheap heating solutions or alternatives to heating solutions or cost-saving heating solutions. So it's very important to understand and build your website in such a way based on who you're targeting and the personas, and what they're searching for.
And it's often when you're inside a business, it's really easy to start assuming that everybody uses the same terms that you do, and everybody
Yes.
understands what it is you offer.
Yes.
Sometimes you really need to step away and think, right, what would my customers really be searching for? What is it they actually know about what we offer? Because quite often that's very little, so we need to step outside of ourselves.
Yeah. No,
understand.
very very important. Better yet, ask your customers. That's the most important thing you can do. Ask your customers, ask your trusted customers who you worked with. If you had to go onto Google or if you had to go on a search engine, what would you type and expect to find my website? And we've done that with a fair few companies, and we've said that to a lot of people, and you'd be surprised with the terms that they came up with. And that's probably a really good starting point of understanding what your typical customer or your customer markets would be searching for. So start there if you had to, ask your customers, get some feedback from them, and work from there.
So I think that in itself quite well addresses a question we've just got through from Twitter, which is, do keywords matter anymore? So I'm assuming from your comments there that keywords still are really important.
They're important to a big extent. Keyword, it's not like before. SEO has changed over the last 3 or 4 years. Before, what you could do is choose 2 or 3 keywords, write content based on that, and maybe stick it in between of all your existing content. Just put the word there and here, and Google might have ranked you and made you do well. Now it's more about themes. So if you're writing a blog or an article about it, write naturally, write for your customers. But when it comes to search engines, it's still important to know what keyword phrases people are typing, and that's because small differences can make a big impact on search engines. So we had a client who was we spoke with. They're in the removals business, and they wanted to optimize their website for removals as a keyword. What we did was we did a bit of research, and we figured out that the keyword removal list is searched 5 times more than the keyword removals. So while the theme remains the same, keywords still do matter.
And when you mentioned the phrase keyword research, we will
provide
you with details of its
There you go, pulling me back on that again. So,
that's all right.
Yeah, searching with keywords, yeah.
Perfect example. We can blabber on about things we do every day, but so we will be presenting you with the tool during next week's webinar, Google AdWords Keyword Research Tool.
Yeah, and just to add and throw that in there, it's anyone can do that. It's just about typing your keywords. It's easy to do once we show it to you, and you'll be able to do your own keyword research most of the time, unless you really want to go into the details of it. But a general keyword research, you as the business owner or someone within your organization or company can quite easily do that.
So coming back again to our webinar we had this Wednesday, the other big theme we introduced, which we'll be revisiting quite a bit over the next few weeks, was the customer journey, and that journey that the customers take throughout their whole relationship with us and the whole purchase cycle. And I know this week coming up, we're going to be addressing the 2 areas of awareness and evaluation, which probably your 2 biggest areas of expertise in your field. You do a lot of work for us in these areas. Firstly, we're seeing some new trends, or maybe not new, but some increased emphasis on a couple of areas from Google recently, one of which is authorship. Do you want to explain to us the notion of authorship and how that works?
So authorship has been there since the last 1 or 2 years. It initially started out as something that Google wanted to try, but it's very important. So in simple English, authorship is about you, the author, the writer of the content. So let's take an example that you like J.K. Rowling, famous Harry Potter series, and she's written a lot of books, and she's the author, but and you're interested in what she writes, and she releases a new book by her, and it may be on a totally different subject. You as fans or you as followers are most likely to go and read that book or buy that book or read that story. And it's the same notion online. Authorship is you could sign up with Google and say you're an author and write on specific topics. It may be how-to recipes, or you may be a cafe writing about different recipes that you offer, or you could be writing about accounting. It could be anything. But what you're doing is telling Google that you specialize in a certain areas, and you're an author of all these posts or content, and if people are searching for related content like that to show your faces. So um, in Google, what happens is you may have noticed when you search for something, sometimes you see a person's face next to the results. That basically means, and below that it'll say by, Ryan Smith, for example. You know that Ryan is the author of that content, so that helps.
So what we're essentially doing is building a bit of authenticity and credibility around certain subject matters. Yes. So in the context of our own business, we have a blog that both Sohal, myself, Fergal, we all contribute to it, and we generally all write on different topics related to our own expertise.
Yeah.
So Sohal is the author on all our blogs on SEO, mobile, a lot of those online awareness topics.
Yeah.
I think we've got another one coming up soon. You're going to be doing some work around accessibility, whereas I'll be the author on most blogs around content and analytics, and Fergal does a lot of local government blogs and a bit of everything, social media.
Yeah.
But over time, if we're building up that body of expertise around our authorship on certain topics, that'll really help our SEO and ability to rank when people are searching for topics related to what we're writing about there.
Definitely, and if I had to take it back to you, how you'd use it, just say you're part of, your business is located within a locality. It may be your local newspaper online, or it may be, you may be associated with other businesses who ask you to write for their website. You could tie your authorship in and make sure that you're seen even when their website comes up, that it's by you. So there's an advantage over there, and you can leverage off the more popular sites by either writing or authoring from them and tying your authorship in.
And once again, this is something that it takes a little bit of configuration, but it's something you can do yourself.
Yes.
It's not.
Yes.
It's not like a huge amount of programming or anything. So we'll provide you with some more details, but this is definitely something you can start doing straight away. And another one we're going to ask you to actually go and have a crack at if you haven't set it up already before next week's webinar, which we think is really valuable, is Google Places.
Yes.
So do you want to explain to us a little bit about how Google Places work and why they're really important?
Yes, of course. So Google Places is a matter of registering your business with Google in your locality. So especially if you're servicing customers around a specific locality, Google allows you to actually register your business, your physical business address with them. So again, it's hard to explain over here, but we'd show it next week. When you do a search for certain businesses or restaurants or shops, or you usually see a number of searches within or around where you're located or where you're searching for. So it's quite easy to get listed over there. What you need to do is, you go to Google Places or Google Places for Business. Register your business if it's not already registered, and Google will send out a pin to you, and that should come within a couple of weeks. And that pin is a way of actually verifying that your business actually exists. It exists in a locality, and people are able to come and visit you, or actually know that you're actually there. So it's quite important. Also, from what I've realized is that it actually helps you rank better. So I believe your first step is to get listed on Google Places, and that will help you be found in your locality.
So I know myself that when I'm out and about and I'm looking for a cafe and I Google it on Google Maps, it's just a great tool. It'll pin drop it on the map, show the street view,
Yes.
Bring up a couple of reviews. So really powerful tool.
And that's exactly what Google Places is, to put from a user's perspective or from a customer's perspective, that pin actually comes from Google Places. So very important. Get registered with Google Places. So it's free and it's easy to do.
To get started, just Google Places for Business, and you'll be taken through to a page, and that will sort of step you through the process. It's quite quick and easy.
Yes, yeah. The only thing you do have to wait for is for the pin. So be patient; it'll come within a couple of weeks. Take that pin, go back to your listing, and fill in that pin, and you're all verified. You should show up in Google within the next couple of days. Your listings.
So we've touched on this already when we've been talking about authorship, but the notion of content, which we also discussed in the webinar, and writing content around our area of expertise. So whether it be a blog, article, news, videos, images, that's one of the most integral parts of SEO, really, isn't it? And producing that content on a reasonably regular basis.
Yes, content is very important for SEO. I know as business owners, it may be quite difficult to release a new blog post every week. That's not what actually matters. You don't have to do it every day or every week or every 2 weeks. There's no real time frame. What you need to focus on is the quality of your content. If you're writing a blog post or if you're writing a page on your website, if you're writing about your product or service, make sure that the content is quality. When I say quality, it means it describes your product or services clearly. The blog post is useful. So tying back into what you spoke about, earlier, how content should be relevant, digestible, and easy to use for people. So make sure that you cover that. And Google just launched one of its updates, what we call it as an algorithm update, meaning it changes the formula that decides which websites rank higher. And we've seen a couple of the big online retailers drop off because they created millions of pages that had almost no content, and they've seen a huge drop. So focus on the quality of the content, add images, add videos if you can, and add links to other resources in your content.
And I do see your questions coming in on Twitter there, so we will come back to these. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten you. While you're talking about a couple of those big retailers, Sohal, that are dropping off the rankings,
yes,
that's the question I want to bring up about expectations, because a lot of people believe that you can do your SEO configurations and jump straight up the rankings and that you'll stay there for a long period of time. One thing we have to emphasize is that with Google, we can't guarantee that how long you'll keep your ranking or how long it'll take you to get there. These things do change quite frequently.
Yes. Google changes every 12 hours. If you had to know the technicality of it, sometimes
not scare everyone too much.
but without trying to scare you about how difficult or how easy it is, focus on the good how would we say, the good practices. Focus on your quality of your content. Focus on writing about good topics, doing some of the best practices, and Google will reward you. So most of the sites or most of the websites or businesses that have done that consistently over time, they will continue to rank well, in our opinion. And don't look at shortcuts. Don't look at building numerous pages just for a specific topic. Look at focusing on getting good quality content out there, sharing it via social media, and just be patient. So you will see Google reward you over time.
So some businesses might choose to bring in an external consultant to help them with their SEO, and there are lots and lots of SEO consultants out there, and especially there's plenty of them on some of those freelancing websites we've mentioned before.
Yes.
And as you know, there's lots of offshore consultants as well. So
yes.
You would have seen plenty in your time in India as well.
Yes.
But I know one thing we say to be wary of, because the quality does vary quite a bit,
yeah.
is to be reasonably wary of people handing out guarantees?
Yes, of course.
Which ties in with what you just talked about
Yes.
there, that we actually just can't guarantee anything 100%.
You can't. Companies that, sorry to say, but companies that offer, first page, number one rank, a lot of companies do say first page, and that's fair enough. You're using best practices, but number one rank, or you'll be on the top position. Don't take anyone up on that promise, because only Google can actually make that promise. So unless it's coming straight from Google and they're telling you they're going to put you on number one, you can't really guarantee that, simply because they change so often. So you can appear quite high on searches by, as I said, following the best practice. So guarantees aside, SEO can be done, while it may sound very technical. A lot of the things in SEO can be done by yourself. Making sure you're writing clear titles, putting the images up. A lot of it with modern day content management, like WordPress solution, that you manage your website and you could do yourself. So don't worry too much about the technicalities of it.
Yeah.
And I think over the next couple of weeks we'll show you things that you can actually do on your own for SEO that should have a significant impact over time on your search rankings.
I think that's a really good point, Sohal. We will be showing you plenty of stuff you can do on your own. It is becoming one of those things that it's a skill set that many businesses are building in-house, and that's really, really valuable.
Yes. We always believe, knowledge is the best thing in SEO, so read up on it. There are a lot of good blogs out there. There's a lot of good information for free on Google that you can actually go in and Google and start reading up on the topic. You don't need to know all the technicalities of it, but there are many good articles over there that giving you some quick wins, and we'll cover some of those topics over the next couple of weeks.
Great. So we have a question jumping back to Google Places.
Yes.
How do we think Google Places apply for a home-based business that doesn't necessarily want to publish their residential address?
So for a home-based business, you could in fact put your address. You could hide your address from Google Places, but still register it in the locality. I know that they want to validate it in some way, so it is always a good idea to actually put your address. But if you really don't want to, then maybe you need to reconsider whether Google Places is actually for you, because again, as I said, you might be able to block it today and not show your address, but it may not be there tomorrow. So it's really, if I was to answer your question, do a bit of research on Google Places. Have a read up as to what's there, and if it's not for you, then it's not for you. It's not that just because you do Google Places that you actually rank high. Your website could actually come up without Google Places, but especially if you're going to be servicing a lot of different localities or different countries. So, it's more for physical businesses, if I had to answer that, like cafes or shops or restaurants, that Google Places would be a bit more of a benefit.
Yeah. So our next question is, where does the customer journey start? That's the first part of the question. So you can download the customer journey as well from this page on the Business Victoria website. But essentially the customer journey starts when the customer is unaware of us. So our first step is to try and take that unaware customer and shift them over to the awareness stage, of which SEO is one of the major drivers, which we've been talking about. But some of the other tools we tend to use do include things like social media quite often.
Yes.
Videos.
Yes.
And obviously all the other emails is becoming more and more effective too. But obviously all the other traditional mediums that you've been using in the past.
Of course.
But one thing that we will mention is that we're seeing quite a large shift towards advertising, especially on social media platforms.
Yes.
And tools like AdWords are being used quite a lot as well.
Yes. So I had to say, Google is pushing towards you advertising your website. So whenever you do a search, the top 2 or 3 results that would first come, that we call as paid versus organic. So organic, if I had to explain, is naturally appearing up there, whereas paid is that either the company or business is paid for them to be on top. That's where AdWords would come in. So if you had a small budget, you could try AdWords for your business as well. It's similar to setting up, researching your keywords and setting it up. And And especially if you're in a very competitive market, or you've got a, you're competing with the big guys. Sometimes, if you do a bit of advertising, it might help you in getting some of that business in. But again, it all depends on your industry, your competitor. So a lot of questions, and as I said, focus on the content. That will always give you the best wins over time.
Things like video and images, how important are they to be integrating into our content, into our website? Obviously, YouTube is owned by Google, so there's really strong integration there.
Yes.
So one thing we've started doing a little bit of more is embedding videos into all our blogs as well,
Yes.
which really seems to help with the rankings there.
Yes, because YouTube being a Google product, if you create more YouTube videos, it's likely that if you're searching for, or if your customers are searching for a solution, you're likely that your video shows up, and that links back to your website. So that's videos all help as well as content as images. Some people like to just search for images, especially if you say, for example, offer holiday packages. You may put up images on your website about people on their holidays, or the packages that or the place as well, and that's a good way of being found as well. So make sure you put up images, and we'll talk a bit more about the technicalities behind naming the image correctly, or putting what we call as an alt tag to explain the image to Google, and we'll talk about that over the next couple of weeks.
Next question, can SEO help with customer engagement post-purchase? I can answer personally that one thing I tend to do after I purchase a product or service quite a lot is just access their website or their information again through Google, largely because it's easier.
Most of the time, once the customer has made a purchase, you would notice that a lot of companies send them back to the website, or their businesses send them back to the website either to download the full manual, or you could actually support them through that as well. There'll be a lot of FAQs or questions, and you can keep on sending people back over there to your website. So
as we do discuss on the customer journey there are many reasons why a customer will come back to us after that purchase stage.
Yes.
And just like the awareness stage, Google is one of the main channels that we use to get there.
Yes.
We probably have time to squeeze in one or two more questions. We've also got Fergal telling us he's tuning in from Sydney, so he is with us.
Yes.
For somebody who doesn't have too much time to spend on SEO, what are the first things they should be focusing on to begin with, which we've probably touched on a fair bit throughout?
Yes, just to recap, for example, if you have a physical place of business, then definitely Google Places. If you have a website and you write blogs and so forth, authorship is a good thing. But if you had to focus on one overall thing, is look at your website. Look at it from a customer's perspective. Ask your customers what they would actually type in to find your website, and focus on creating content around that, around those keywords. So again, no technical involvement, hopefully, but making sure that, as I said, focusing on creating good content. So I know it's time consuming, but definitely well worth the effort. Even if you make a plan that you do a blog post every 2 or 3 weeks, you'd see value over time, and Google will give you good returns over time.
And we have been throwing this content term around a lot, and once again, it is something we'll go into more detail. And,
yes.
In the webinar, we're providing with the content planning template. But one way that's usually really easy to get started, if you're wondering where to start writing content, and I think we've mentioned this before, is list out on a whiteboard or a piece of paper the top 10 questions you get asked by your customer, and then just answer them. Turn them into a piece of content, whether that be a video or a blog or an article,
yes.
Or an FAQ. Start answering some of those questions.
Yes.
So I think we're pretty much out of time today. Thanks to Sohal, because he has been pretty under the weather, and he's battled through half an hour really well. Your voice hasn't gone. That's good.
No, that's good. Yeah, and thank you everyone for listening in. Sorry if I got through a bit more of the technical stuff, and we'd be happy to show that, show some of the stuff we spoke about over the next couple of weeks. So looking forward to it.
So have a think about your keywords and your customers over the next few days, and definitely go and check out Google Places for Business as well as a starting point.
And for those of you who are feeling a bit experimental, try the Google AdWords keyword tool. You can Google that, set up an account, and try doing some keyword research. there are a few things you could do to improve it, but if you feel like experimenting, go for it.
Great. Thanks a lot, Sohal.
Thanks very much, man.
We'll see
Thanks.
everyone next week to talk to you then.
Thank
Cheers.
you, everyone. See you.